Okay, so a few words about Muthu. Obviously, Muthu is an astrologer, but he's also a certified life coach at innovativeastrosolutions.com. And his journey into the world of astrology began under the tutelage of his father, Mr. Elango, and it has spanned over 2 decades. So he also has a very, very strong lineage backing his studies and practice. So he has a master's degree in engineering, and Muthu spent a decade in corporate sector before transitioning into a full-time career in astrology. He's passionate about writing astrology-related articles for the benefit of common people. Muthu also imparts his extensive knowledge by teaching the fundamentals of Vedic astrology to more than 5,000 students on Udemy, many of whom have successfully launched their own careers in astrology, which is a great feat unto itself. So if you want to reach out to Muthu, I've put his website, and here is his email address as well in case you want to reach out and explore his work. He is also an entrepreneur, the chairman of TechSage Astrology Application, and I certainly recommend everyone to check that out. With that, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Ashwin. Okay, let's get started. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay, I hope everybody is able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So today I'm going to talk about Muhurtha, which is electional astrology. And of course, it's a very deep topic. So since there are a lot of Western audience, I wanted to make it very concise, understandable. So it is going to be more of a fundamentals of Muhurtha and how to apply Muhurtha in a marriage horoscope. So that's the topic I have taken today. So sometimes we may be wondering, like, why a life says yes to us without much effort, and sometimes it says not now. So many of you might face this kind of situation oftentimes, and you may also see sometimes when two people may often have same talent, they may put the same effort, and they may also have a same good intention, but the outcome will be completely different. So let this question sink in your mind, and we are going to find the answer in this session. So let me tell you a story. There was a farmer in a village, and he had two sons, and he handed over the fertile land to both of their sons, and he also handed over the seeds. The first one started working on the day one. He immediately planted all the seeds, put his whole hard work, planted the seeds with plenty of water, and he took a good care. And every day he was working hard. But unfortunately, the land was staying dry. The second one didn't act immediately, not because of laziness, but he was waiting for the right time. So he planted his seeds just a week before the rainy season, or the right season, I would say. And he put all his hard work in the same week. He put planted the tree, whatever the caution they need to take. He took a great care. He also put the hard work. But after this, he planted the seed. Within a week, he was able to see the plants growing. So here, the difference was not the seed, the difference was not the effort, but the difference was the timing. So if you observe the nature always has respected the timing. So if you recall Carl Jung's statement that whatever born or done at a moment of time has the qualities of the time. So this sets the basis of the topic we are going to discuss today. So let me take a few minutes to talk about the philosophy behind this. So in astrology, the time itself is considered divine. and it's called Kala Purusha. So if you observe the nature, every creation happens in time, the growth also happens in time, and the destruction also happens in the time. And whichever the object that creates in time will definitely have destruction in time, which escapes. This is what we call it as an eternal. Okay. And if time governs all the natural processes, can the human actions also become more successful when aligned with the right time? Right? Is that a valid question? Right? So that's what we are going to see. So our ancient Maharishis observed this time very deeply, and they realized that time is not empty. Every moment carries a different quality. So even today, if you observe the seasons, every season have its own quality. In summer, you will see that lot of heat, and in winter, you will see there is a cold, right? So every moment carries a different quality, different vibration, and different possibilities. And from these observations emerge one of the most profound branches of astrology. We call it as a Muhurtha, which is the science of choosing the right moment. Okay, to put it in a very simple term, Muhurtha is the science of choosing the right moment. So, what exactly we are doing in Muhurtha? So, basically, we are trying to concentrate the favorable energies of this nature so that whatever the undertaken work will get all the positive energies of the nature. And also, we are trying to find a time which will neutralize all the unfavorable influences of the nature. Okay, so basically, we are trying to find the favorable positive energies from the nature and also eliminating the unfavorable negative energies. So, which is nothing but we are trying to align the action with the universal rhythm. So, why we want to do this actually? So, basically, the natal chart will explain the past karma of each individual. So, in order to minimize the evils of past karma, we have a free will to choose the right timing for every endeavors. So that's the whole idea of Muhurtha. So the right action at the wrong time fails, but whereas the right action at the right time succeeds. So this is the foundations of Muhurtha. So then you might ask a question, okay, then what is the difference between the natal chart and Muhurtha? So the natal chart is nothing but the position of planet during the birth that is being the resultant of one's previous karma. So the karma versus natal chart is a big topic by itself. I'm not going to touch that actually. So you can refer any standard book to read what is karma, how it is linked with the horoscope and all. But natal chart is nothing but the planetary positions based on your past karma. Now the Muhurtha is chart prepared or the technique used to minimize the evil results from the natal chart to get the best outcome for the taken event. Okay. But when I say this, it doesn't mean that Muhurtha cancels all the flaws in the natal chart. No. Basically, the flaws in natal chart will still be there, but we are trying to minimize the evil effects of those flaws. So that's the whole idea of Muhurtha. So horoscope tells you the script, but whereas Muhurtha tells you when to perform it. Okay, so before jumping into how to fix Muhurtha for a particular event, we need to understand certain elements which is used in the Muhurtha. So these are called limbs or limbs of Panchanga. So Panchanga is a almanac we use in Vedic astrology. So it is basically the limbs. There are 5 limbs. Panja means 5. So there are 5 limbs used in this Panchanga. So we are going to see what are those 5. The first one is called Tithi. So Tithi is basically a lunar day. Basically in in Indian context or in Vedic astrology context, the moon is very, very important to access someone's mental strength, because moon is directly related to the mind. Moon is called Manokarga. Now, the position of moon decides someone's mental inclination on that particular day. So when moon is 12 degree away from the sun, that is when the first Tithi will end actually. So Tithi is nothing but the difference of increment of longitude of sun and the moon, which amounts to 12 degrees. So take sun as a reference. From sun, if moon moves 12 degree, then the first Tithi ends. Then if it moves to the next 12 degrees, which is 24 degree, then the second Tithi ends. So like this, if you go within 15 days, you will get 15 Tithis. And within 1 month, you will see that 15 Tithis will repeat actually. So there are only 15 Tithis. So 15 and again the same 15 will repeat. So there are 15 Tithis in the cycle of two times. So to calculate Tithi, what you need to do, you need to take the sun longitude and take the moon longitude, find the difference and divide by 12. So that will give the Tithi. And to see whether the Tithi is a Shukla Paksha or Krishna Paksha, the Krishna Paksha is the dark half of the moon's rotation or moon's phase, I would say, whereas the Shukla Paksha is the bright half. So when you find the difference between the sun longitude and moon longitude, and if it is less than 180 degree, it is called Shukla Paksha, which is the bright half. And if it is greater than 180, it is called Krishna Paksha, which is the dark half. So I have given all the 15 Tithis at the end of this slides as an annexure. So you can refer to that when I share this slide. Okay. So this is the Tithi. Now, next we will move to the Vara. So Vara means it's basically weekdays. So starting from Sunday to Saturday, it's called Vara. So you all know that the Vara itself is concept based upon the planetary planets in the solar system. So it always starts from the Sunday and end with the Saturday. And each day is ruled by certain planet. So Sunday by sun, Monday by moon, and Tuesday by Mars, and so on and so forth. And when we choose auspicious events, this Vara also have a significance. So all these 5 Panchanga or Angas of the Panchanga has significance while choosing the Muhurtha. And the next one is called Nakshatra. Nakshatra are the 27 lunar mansions. So it is starting from the Ashwini to the Revati. There are 27 mansions. So basically one Nakshatra is 13 degree 20 degrees 13 degree 20 minutes of arc length. So if you count 13 degree 20 minutes multiplied by 27 will give 360 degrees. So the entire zodiac belt 360 degrees is covered by these 27 nakshatras. Of course, there are many nakshatras, but all the important nakshatras are taken consideration in the Vedic astrology. And for each nakshatra, there are 4 padas, and each pada will be 3 degree 20 minutes. So 13 degree 20 minutes is the whole one nakshatra. When you divide by 4, it will be 3 degree 20 minutes. So to find the particular nakshatra in a particular day, reduce the longitude of moon into minutes and divide by 800. So the quotient will give the constellation that moon is already passed. So you can easily find it out. Now the next one is called Yoga. The Yoga is nothing but the joint motion in longitude of the sun and moon, which amounts to 13 degree 20 minutes. So there are 27 yogas. So if I multiply 27 into 13, so you will get again 360 degrees. So the full complete yoga will be there. So yoga is otherwise called as a luni-solar day because it includes the joint motion of both sun and moon. Okay. So why this yoga is important? Because yoga is considered to be a particular yoga, which is auspicious, generally believed to strengthen our body and remove germs that causes the disease. So basically, we choose auspicious events on certain good yogas. So again, there are 27 yogas, which I attached in the annexer appendix, so you can refer to it. In the subsequent slides, I will tell you like what are the auspicious yoga which is used in the muhurtas. So to find out the yoga on a particular day, what you need to do, you need to get the sun longitude on that particular day and moon longitude on the particular day and divide by 13 degree 20 minutes. Or otherwise, if you convert, it will be 800 seconds or seconds. So the quotient will give the number of yogas already passed, and the remainder will give the what is the amount of yoga that is yet to be or already elapsed. Okay, so that's how we need to find the yoga. So this all are like a mathematical calculations. It's all astronomy, and it's completely purely mathematics. And the last one is Karna. So Karna is basically half of the lunar day, which is half of the Tithi. Okay, so I told there are only 15 Tithi. So when you say, when you divide it by 2, it will be half will be only 7.5. So there are actually 11 Karnas, of which 7 Karnas are by dividing the Tithis by 2, and last 4 Karnas are something they call it as a permanent Karnas. Okay, so these Karnas also have significance while choosing the Muhurtha. So for each of these elements, I'll tell you like what are the best thing to take into consideration while choosing the Muhurtha and what are the things that need to be avoided. So while doing Muhurtha, these are the 5 important limbs we need to keep in mind while choosing any Muhurtha. Okay, so here is the general thumb rule while choosing the Muhurtha. So Tithi, there are 15 Tithis, of which these 5 Tithis are to be avoided, which is Amavasya, the day when sun and moon are joined together. So that's when we call it as Amavasya. And Paurnami, which is basically when sun and moon are opposite. There are some exceptions that sometimes people will still use Paurnami but not Amavasya. But as a best practice, better you both avoid Amavasya as well as Paurnami. And Ashtami, which is the 8th Tithi, counting from Amavasya as well as counting from the Pradham. And the Navami, which is the 9th Tithi, which is also to be avoided. And Pradhamai is the 2nd Tithi from the Amavasya and as well as from the Paurnami. So basically, the Amavasya and Paurnami, which is the first Tithi, that should also be avoided. 8th and 9th Tithi should also be avoided. And the 2nd Tithi, which is Pradhamai, should also be avoided. Except these, all other Tithis are acceptable. And coming to the nakshatra, there are certain nakshatras for each event. For example, from a Indian context, there are several events like, for example, marriage, ear piercing, then baby shower, naming ceremony, land purchase, education commencement. There are several events, and for each events, there are certain nakshatras which are approved. So we need to use those nakshatras. That table I will show it in the upcoming slide. Then coming to the Vara, which is from Sunday to Saturday, Tuesday and Saturday are generally avoided. You might know what is the reason, because Tuesday is ruled by Mars and Saturday is ruled by Saturn, which are powerful malefics in Vedic astrology. So because of this reason, these 2 days are avoided. Then coming to the yoga, these yogas are avoided or rejected for any auspicious event. So Vyatipada, Dhruva, Mrityu, Ganda, Vajra, Shula, Vikshamba, then Adhikanda, Vyakata, and Pariga. These are all generally rejected. Other than these, other yogas are generally approved. Then Karna, there are 11 Karnas I told. So out of these 11 Karnas, the Vishti Karna must be invariably discarded for any auspicious events. Other than that, other Karnas are okay. Then there are something called special yogas, which we call it as an Amardati yoga. This is again based on the nakshatra as well as Tithi, combination of nakshatra and Tithi. So In that special yoga, the Amrtati yoga and Siddha yoga are approved, whereas the Marana yoga, which is generally considered as a auspicious. So Marana generally means kind of a death. So for any auspicious event, on that particular day, the special yoga should not be Marana yoga. It should be either Amrta yoga or Siddha yoga. Then the last but not least is the special consideration for the Muhurtha chart itself. So when we perform a particular activity, then for that particular activity we choose a Muhurtha, and for that Muhurtha we cast a horoscope. In that particular horoscope, there are special consideration, which is the first point is the ascendant in the Muhurtha chart should be very strong. The ascendant lord should also be strong. The moon should also be very strong, because the moon is the karaka for mind. So when you do a particular activity, you should be completely involved and you should do without any sort of mental disturbance. So ascendant, its lord and moon all should be well placed in the Muhurtha chart. So what I mean by Muhurtha chart is the chart that is prepared for the chosen event with the chosen time. So that's what we call as a Muhurtha chart. Then Jupiter, which is considered as a divine planet in Vedic astrology. So when it either occupies ascendant of the Muhurtha chart, or either Jupiter aspecting the ascendant of the Muhurtha chart is considered to be very auspicious. And also the Jupiter's aspect on the Bhava that is considered for the event is also considered auspicious. So what I mean is, when you start education. So for education, as per Vedic astrology, the fourth house is the house of education, right? So when Jupiter aspects the fourth house in the Muhurtha chart, that is generally considered auspicious. Similarly, for marriage, the seventh house, which is the Kalatra Sthana. So when seventh house of the Muhurtha chart is aspected by Jupiter, that is considered to be very auspicious. So either Jupiter aspecting the ascendant of the Muhurtha chart, or the particular bhava that is pertaining to the event is also considered to be very auspicious. So these are the general thumb rules while fixing the Muhurtha chart to follow to fix the Panchanga element as well as the special consideration. Okay, now we are coming to the very important part. Okay, now when we do a Muhurtha for a particular person, let's say if I am going to admit my child to a education, commencement of education, either starting an education at the home or joining them in the school, then the child becomes the primary consideration, right? They become the native. So we need to find the Tara Balam for that native. The person who performs the action on that particular day is the native. So for that person, we need to find the Tara Balam. So Tara literally means constellation, nakshatra. So to find Tarabala, here is the rule. Count from the birth constellation to the one ruling on the particular day on which the new work to be done or the journey undertaken, and divide the number by 9 if it is divisible. Otherwise, keep it as it is. So let's say if I am the person who is going to perform a particular action on that particular day in the Muhurtha time, then I need to take a birth constellation from my horoscope. Then you need to count from my birth constellation to the constellation ruling on that particular day. For example, today is Uttarashada Nakshatra. Let's say if my birth star is Shadabhisha Nakshatra, then I need to count from Shadabhisha to the Uttarashada Nakshatra. That is how we need to find the Tara. I'll explain with an example here in the next line. So these are the 27 Nakshatras. Okay. Let's say today is Uttarashada Nakshatra. Okay. Let's say if a particular native is born in Rohini and he need to perform a particular activity today, then I need to find the Tara Balam of that particular native. Okay. So what I need to do, I need to count from birth nakshatra to the today's nakshatra and divide by 9 if it is greater than 9. Otherwise, keep as it is. So that's the rule. So take Rohini. So I need to count from Rohini to Uttarashada. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So I'm getting 18, which is greater than 9. So I should divide by 9. I'm getting the remainder as 0. So remainder 0 means ideally it is 9 actually, because when you get a remainder 1, it is the first nakshatra. If it is remainder 2, then it is, you need to find the second one. Like this, we need to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So ideally, when you divide any number by 9, you will not get remainder 9, because the remainder will be always 8 and below 8. So when it is 9, it is, you need to consider as a 0. Okay. So now when we get 9, which means it is a 9th Tara. So the Tara Balam is 9. Okay. Let's take one more example. Let's say if the native is born in Magha Nakshatra. Okay. Then for that particular native, we need to find the Tara Bala for present day, which is today. So today's Nakshatra is Uttarashadha. So we need to count from here, from Magha, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 divided by 9, you will get remainder as 3. So which means the Tara Bala is 3. Now, instead of counting this and dividing by 9, there is an easy method. If you follow this table, I'll tell you how to do that. Say, for example, today's nakshatra is Uttarashada, right? So when you see the Uttarashada, you can see what are the nakshatras in this particular row. Okay, so Uttarashada has the same row, you have Kritika, Uttara Falguni, and Uttarashada. So all these three in the same row. So what you can do, if the birth nakshatra is Rohini, you don't need to go until Uttarashada, because from here, if you count, you need to count 18 nakshatras. Instead, what you can do, take the same column, which is in the Rohini, which is the birth nakshatras column, count up to Kritika, because the Kritika falls in the same row of Uttarashada. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 is the Tarapala. So this is an indirect and easy way to calculate the Tarapala. So same if you apply for Magha Nakshatra. So instead of counting from Magha to Uttarashada, what you can do, in the Magha column, the column 2, the Uttarashada Nakshatra and Uttara Falguni Nakshatra falls in the same row. So you don't need to go till Uttarashada, but what you can do is you just need to till Uttara Falguni, which is 1, 2, 3. So the same 3 Tarabala you will get. So this is an easy way to find the Tarabala. Okay. So what is the implication of Tarabala? So Tarabala can come up to 1 to 9. Okay. So if the remainder is 1, it is first Tara. If the remainder is 2, it is second Tara, and so on and so forth. If the remainder is 0, it is 9th Tara. Okay. So now the first Tara, what we call as the Janma Tara, is generally avoided because it says that when it is a Janma Tara, it can create a danger to the body. And the second Tara, which what is called Sambat Tara, which means it indicates wealth and prosperity, so which is generally approved. And the third Tara, what we call Vivat Tara, which is generally considered to be danger, losses, and accidents. Vivat literally means it is accidents. Then fourth Tara, which we call as a Shema Tara. Shema means prosperity. So this is generally approved, fourth one. And fifth Tara, it's called Pratyak. Pratyak literally means obstacles. So generally fifth Tara is not considered to be approved. And the sixth Tara is called Sadhana. Sadhana means it's a realization of ambitions. So sixth Tara is generally approved. Then the seventh Tara is called Naidana. Naidana means danger. So seventh Tara is invariably not approved. Then the eighth Tara is called Mitra. Mitra means good, or what we call as a friendly. Okay. Then the ninth Tara is called Parama Mitra, which means very favorable. So eighth and ninth Tara both are generally approved. So for a particular native, when we choose a Muhurtha, we find the Tara Bala and we make sure that it falls under the auspicious Tara, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9. And of which the first, third, fifth, seventh are avoided, of which the seventh is completely avoided. No exceptions at all for seventh Tara. Whereas for 1 and 5 can be approved provided if there are other factors, nullifying factors. Okay, but seventh Tara is invariably declined or not approved. Okay, so now there is another concept called Chandra Balam. So Tara means constellation. So Nakshatra Balam. Balam means literally it is strength. Chandra Balam means Chandra is basically moon. Bala means strength. So we need to assess the strength of the moon on that particular day. Okay. So similar to how we did Tara Balam with respect to the today's nakshatra to the native's birth nakshatra, same thing we need to do for a Chandra Balam where moon's position with respect to the native's moon's position. So Chandra Bala is simply checking where today's moon compared to birth moon. Based on that, whether the mind will support this action or resist it. So that's the implication of Chandra Bala. For example, today, moon is in Uttarashada Nakshatra, Capricorn, which is Makar Rashi. Let's say if someone's natal chart shows the moon is in Aries, which is Mesham. So we need to count current moon from the birth moon, which will be the 10th house. From Aries, you need to count up to Capricorn, which will give the 10th. So the Chandra Bala will be 10. Let's say if someone born in the Mithuna Rashi, which is moon is in the Mithuna well during the birth chart, then from there you need to count till Capricorn, which will give the 8th Chandra Bala. Okay. So what is the implication of Chandra Bala? So again, when a person perform an action, when the present day Chandra is in 3, 6, 10 and 11th house from the natal moon, then it indicates success in the taken endeavors. But whereas when a person performs an action in the Chandra Astama, which is the 8th place from the natal moon, then it is generally not auspicious. So that's why they call it as a Chandra Astama, which means the Chandra becomes Ashtama or occupies the Astama position from the natal moon, which is the 8th house from the natal moon. This is generally avoided. So recommended is 3, 6, 11 and completely avoidable is 8. And in between whichever numbers comes, that can be approved based on the other conditions. So which is kind of a subjective call we need to take on the case by case. But we try to stick to maintain these 4 Chandra Balas as much as possible. Unless otherwise, there are exceptions. So now we see what is Tara Bala and how to find the Tara Bala for the native. And we saw what is Chandra Bala and how to find the Chandra Bala for the native. Now these are the called Muhurtha Nakshatras. Muhurtha Nakshatras are something called as an auspicious nakshatra for events. For example, in Indian context, these are some of the events where usually people take Muhurtha or electional astrology. So marriage, obviously, it's one of the important event in life. So for marriage, these are the suitable nakshatras, which is Rogini, Mrigashirisa, Maha, Uttarafalguni, Hasta, Swadi, Anuradha, Mula, Uttarashada, Shravana, Shadabisha, Uttarabhadrapada, and Revati. So similarly, for each activities, there are certain best suited nakshatras, which we will use it. So for example, for baby shower, Rogini, Mrigashirisa, Punarvasha, and so on and so forth. And for year piercing, education commencement, vehicle buying, construction commencement, and housewarming, and travel. So this is like a ready reckoner table where you can refer because this is taken from the almanac, standard almanac in India. Okay, next important concept in Muhurtha is Hora. So in Muhurtha, whatever we saw that we are choosing a particular day auspicious day to perform an action. But even in that day, we need to come to a conclusion on particular time. So that is very important. So even within a single day, not all hours are equal. So ancient astrologers observed that each hour carries influence of certain planetary energies, and this is called hora. Hora, basically the hour. Hora is hour actually. So planetary hour, I mean, hora is planetary hour. So hora teaches that even within a day, there are certain time which are influenced by certain planetary energies. So time breaks differently in different time within the day. So that's the whole idea of hora. So I'll show you the hora table in the next slide. But for each hora is ruled by certain planet. So whichever hora ruled by Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, and Moon are generally approved, whereas hora ruled by Mars, Saturn, and Sun are generally to be avoided, because Mars, Saturn, and Sun are the malefics. So the time that is ruled in a particular day by these planets, Mars, Saturn, and Sun, should be avoided for any auspicious event. Okay, so when you understand hora, you will understand that Muhurtha is not just choosing the right day, but it is choosing the right moment within the day. So that's why the hora is very, very important. So this is a sample hora table. Of course, there are 24 horas in a day. I have given only for 12. So you can still extrapolate for the 24 also. Okay. So for example, for Sunday, the first hora always starts with sun, because the hora, again, it's based on the planets only. For example, the Sunday, the first hora starts with the sun. For Monday, the first hora starts with the moon, and Tuesday, Mars, and Wednesday, Mercury. Thursday is Jupiter, Friday is Venus, and Saturday is Saturn. So it's basically the first hora defines the day. Okay. So the first hora of Sunday starts with the sun and follows the same order. Okay. The second hora will be Venus, and third one will be Mercury. The fourth one will be Moon. Fifth will be Saturn. Sixth will be Jupiter, and seventh will be Mars. So all the 7 planets are allocated. Then it will again start with the sun, and it will go in the same order for the 24 hour. So this is how the hora is distributed all the 24 hours. Similarly, for Monday, the first hora starts with the moon. Then it will follow the same order. After moon, it will be Saturn. Then after Saturn, it will be Jupiter, then Mars. Then it will again Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, and so on and so forth. So this is how the hora is allocated. So in a particular day, whenever a particular hora is ruled by Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, and Moon, that is considered as a auspicious horas. When it is ruled by Saturn, Mars, and Sun, it is considered inauspicious. So whatever the event we are planning on that particular day, we need to plan within that Subhahora. So that's what we call it as a Subhahora. So this is the Subhahora for weekdays. So this table arrived from these rules, basically. So for Sunday, the Subhahora falls between 7:30 to 10:30 a.m. In the afternoon, it will be 2:30 to 4:30, and in the night, it will be 9 to 12. So whenever we choose a Muhurtha on Sunday, we try to as much restrict within this Subhahora. Okay. Unless otherwise, there are other compensating factor in the Muhurtha horoscope itself that over positively affecting the Subhahoras, like more than the positive of Subhahoras. Okay. But we try to stick to the Subhahoras as much as possible. On Monday, it will be 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. and 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. and night, evening 6 to 9 p.m. then 10 to 11 p.m. So this is a standard table which is available in all the almanac in India. You can find this. Okay, so now we have seen so much of theory so far. So we have seen like what is Muhurtha, like what are the Panchanga elements that we need to check for fixing the Muhurtha. Then we saw what is Tarabala, how to fix the Tarabala for the native. Then what is Chandrabala, how to fix the Chandrabala, and what are the auspicious Tarabala, what is the auspicious Chandrabalas. Then we saw the hora also. Now we'll take a practice, like how to apply this for a particular event. So I'm taking a marriage as an example because personally I get a lot of consultation for Muhurtha with respect to marriage. So because that's considered to be very, very important event in a life. So I'll take example for marriage, but the same thing you can extrapolate for other events also, which can be like house construction, land buying, or vehicle purchase, uh, education commencement, and etc. Okay. So for marriage, the first criteria is the chosen day. For the chosen day, the Tarabala and Chandrabala should be auspicious for both married couples. It's not only for the bride or not only for the groom, for both it should be auspicious. And the next one is Nakshatra and Tidi. So for Nakshatra, I already mentioned what are the approved Muhurtha Nakshatras. So we need to see that the day which we are selecting as a Muhurtha day should have that Nakshatra. And the Tidi should not be Amavasya or Paurnami or Ashtami or Navami or Pradami. So these 5 are avoided. And Vara and Karna. So Vara, as I mentioned, the Tuesday and Saturday should be avoided. So the Muhurtha should not fall on Tuesday or Saturday. Then the Karna, the Vishti Karna is invariably discarded. So on the particular chosen day, it should not be Vishti Karna. Then it comes to yoga, it should not be any of these yogas. So out of 27 yogas, these yogas are rejected, other yogas are accepted. Okay, then we need to see the Muhurtha chart consideration. Okay, so as I mentioned, the special consideration. So whatever event we are choosing, for that particular event, we need to see the houses. For example, when it comes to marriage, the 7th house, which is the Kalatrasthana, which is the house of relationship, marriage. Then 8th house, which is the second house from the 7th house, which indicates the longevity of the partner. Then the 2nd house, which is the house of family life. So when someone get married, so they entering into the new relationship and also entering into the new family, extended family. So the 2nd house is very important. Then 12th house, which is the house of Shayana Shuddha, which means it's a house of sexual pleasure. So 12th house is also very important. So in the Muhurtha chart, on the particular day, we choose a Muhurtha, we choose a particular time. For that, we need to cast a horoscope. In that horoscope, the 2nd house, 7th house, 8th house, and 12th house should be free from affliction. So when I say free from affliction, there should not be any malefic influence on these houses, either through occupation or through aspections. So that's what we call this a consideration for Muhurtha. Then we also give importance to Kalatra Karaga or Kalatrasthana and Putrasthana or Putra Karaga. So Venus is called the Kalatra Karaga in Vedic astrology, or Venus is the planet of love, relationship, marriage, and partner. So in the Muhurtha chart, the Venus should be very well placed. On the 5th house, which is the house of Putra or offspring, so that house should also be free from affliction, because after marriage, everyone's expectation is always to have kids. So the Putra Sthana should be invariably well placed without any affliction. So that is very, very important consideration in the Muhurtha horoscope, Muhurtha chart. Okay, so with these rules in mind, let's take one example. Okay, so I'm taking one example. This is a Muhurtha I helped for a particular native for their marriage. Okay, so the marriage date, of course, when a particular person comes for a consultation, the typically what they say is like, I want a date within this time frame. So they will say like anywhere between January 1st to February 28th. So they will give some time frame of window, some 20, 30 days or 60 days or sometimes even 90 days. So within that 90 days or 60 days, we need to skim through each day and find a particular day where all the Muhurtha aspects are auspicious. Okay, so that's how we need to fix the Muhurtha. So let's say this particular native say that they are okay from January 1 to February 28. So I need to go each day one by one. Okay. Then one particular day I'll choose 1 or 2 days where all the Muhurtha aspects are. So for example, for this native, I chose February 5, 2020 based on the factors. Okay. So first thing, first I need to find the Tarabala and Chandrabala for the native. Okay, so to make it simple, I have given the Tarabala and Chandrabala for the native who consulted me. I have not taken the spouse's Tarabala Chandrabala because I don't want to complicate here. I wanted to make it simple. So the native star is Ashlesha and the present day star on the particular day, this day, February 5, 2020 is Mrigashira. Okay, so we need to find the Tarabala first. So for Tarabala, we'll go to this table so that we'll quickly calculate. So the native's star is Ashlesha and the present day star is Mrigashira. Okay, so we need to find. So ideally, if you go from Ashlesha to Mrigashira, basically you need to cover all these two and come here. So instead, we'll use the shortcut method. So from Ashlesha, Mrigashira, we can go from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we are getting 6 as the Tarabala. So we all know 6 is one of the best Tara because it's a sadhana, which means realization of ambition. So 6 Tara is perfectly suitable for this event. Okay. So we'll go to this chart. So again, next is Chandrabala. So here we have marked Tarabala is 6th Tarabala. Okay, 6th Tarabala is marked here. Now we need to find the Chandrabala. Chandrabala is the relative position of moon with respect to the natal moon. Okay, so this person is born in Ashlesha Nakshatra, which means the natal's moon sign is Cancer, Kataka. This is where the moon is placed when the native was born. So from here we need to find the relative position of moon. So from here, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So moon, current day moon is in the 11th position from the present day moon, which means the 11th Chandrabala. Okay, so 11th Chandrabala is considered to be very auspicious. If you see the Chandrabala rule, 3, 6, 10, 11 are generally considered to be very auspicious. The logic behind is like 3, 6, 10, 11. Of course, 10 is not a pure Ubhajaya. These 3, 6, 11 is called Ubhajaya houses. Ubhajaya means it's a house of growth, success. So that's why this 3, 6, 11, including 10, is considered to be one of the best position for choosing an event. So now the Chandrabala is also taken care. So Tarabala is taken care, Chandrabala is taken care. So we have chosen that. So on this particular day, if we calculate the Tithi, it is coming as Ekadashi Tithi. So this either you can calculate manually by taking the sun's and moon's longitude, or otherwise you can take any standard almanac, you will get the Tithi for that particular day. Okay. So Ekadashi is considered to be very auspicious Tithi. Then Karna is Vanija Karna, which is okay because except Vishti Karna, all other Karna is okay. Then the yoga is Vaidrita Yoga, which is also acceptable. Then the nakshatra is on that particular day is Mrigashirisa. So Mrigashirisa is a Muhurtha nakshatra. For marriage, it is an auspicious nakshatra. So it is approved. And the Vara is Wednesday. This particular day, February 5, 2020, falls on Wednesday. So Wednesday is generally considered to be auspicious because it is ruled by Mercury. Okay, so now all the Panchanga factors we have taken into consideration. So Tithi is taken care, Nakshatra is taken care, Vara is taken care, Yoga is taken care, then Karna is taken care. So all 5 Panchanga elements are taken care. Apart from that, the Tarabalam is taken care, Chandrabalam is taken care. So all the rules, whatever we saw, we are able to fit this particular thing. Okay, now we need to find the auspicious time for the marriage. So we fixed the date as February 5, 2020. So that's a day. But as I mentioned, Muhurtha is not only about the day, but choosing the right time within the day to perform the action. Okay, so we need to fix the timing. So for timing, again, you need to go to the Hora, Subha Hora, if at all you are not able to fit within the superflora, we need to make sure that horoscope is very strong. Okay. So for marriage, what are the general thumb rule I said? The second house, seventh house, eighth house, and 12th house. All this should be very strong. Then the Kalatra Karaga, Venus should be very strong. Then the Putra Sthana or Putra Karaga, both should be strong. Putra Sthana is fifth house and Putra Karaga is Jupiter. Okay. Now, if you see the Capricorn ascendant.
Question. Sorry.
Sure.
So in North India, Vaidriti is not considered good for marriage talk initiation. So they're asking if this is correct or not.
Maybe there could be some exception rules between South India and North India. In that case, we need to avoid. Okay. So in that case, because there are 27 yogas, so if it is something not considered auspicious within this particular segment, we need to take. Even because in Muhurtha consultations, I always face some problems within Tamil Nadu and Andhra itself, because in Andhra, certain months are not auspicious for marriage, but the same months are approved in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, in Kerala also, there are certain different practice. So there are certain regional practice we need to take consideration. So that's why we need to, like whenever we do Muhurtha consultation, I always check all the regional considerations with the native even before starting the consultation. So that's a good practice, because we cannot give something that is not workable within the local region. Okay. Okay, thank you for the question. Okay, now we'll take this chart. Okay, I hope there is no question. Okay, fine. So we will see, first we will take the consideration of 7th house, because 7th house is the house of Kalatra Sthana, which is the house of marriage. So here the ascendant is Capricorn. We see the 7th Lord, Moon, which is exalted in the 5th house. So 7th Lord is well placed. Of course, it is aspected by Mars, but I don't say it is a malefic still, because Mars also aspecting from its own house, and it's also creating a powerful Chandramangala Yoga. Then we'll see the second house, the 2nd Lord Saturn, which is occupying the Lagna in its own house with Sun, and of course it's not very near to the Sun, so there is no affliction. Then the 12th Lord Jupiter in its own house with Ketu, not much affliction. Then the Kalatra Karaga, which is the Venus, which is also exalted in the 3rd house, and which is also the 5th Lord in this chart, which is the Putra Sthana. Putra Sthana Adipati, the house, the Lord of 5th house is also exalted. The very important reason for this particular native, I wanted to make sure the 5th house is very, very auspicious, because this particular native consulted me before marriage. When I look at the horoscope for marriage compatibility, the most important factor, what I found is like there are certain indications for delay in progeny in both of the bride and groom chart. But otherwise, the compatibility wise, the individual chart wise, both chart are very much matching. But when it comes to progeny, there were some afflictions in both natal chart. So what I recommended them is like, if you are open to do a marriage on a particular Muhurtha where the 5th house is very strong, for sure you will get child very early. And because of that reason, I made sure that this chart is very strong in terms of 5th house. So that's why if you see the 7th Lord is exalted in the 5th house, and the 5th Lord is also exalted in the 3rd house. And you see that this particular native got their first child within one and a half year of their marriage, actually. But if you see the natal chart, there are much afflictions in their Putrasthana. Okay, but if they have not done marriage on this particular Muhurtha, still they might get the child, but it may not happen within that short period of 1.5 years. It might take 3 years or 4 years. So that's the power of Muhurtha. Like whatever the afflictions in the natal chart can be minimized by choosing a right Muhurtha. So that's the crux of why Muhurtha is very, very important. And I have seen numerous of charts like this where certain afflictions in the horoscope, not only with respect to Putrasthana, even the Kalatrasthana also. Even if there is a considerable affliction in the Kalatrasthana, but if the Muhurta chart is chosen with Kalatrasthana very strong and Kalatra Karaka very strong, then it can considerably reduce the marital problems if they do the marriage in that particular Muhurta. So that's the power of Muhurta. Okay, I hope I covered everything in this particular chart. The second house, seventh house, fifth house, and 12th house, and Kalatra Karaka as well as Putra Karaka Jupiter. Okay, now I think this is the last slide. C-section. So this is something becoming very common nowadays, and people come to astrologer sometimes to find a Muhurta for a C-section, because in most of the hospitals in India, at least, they tell in advance that this is the approximate date where we are planning for a C-section. So even doctors themselves suggest if you are okay, you can come up with some auspicious day and time. We are open to do a C-section. So maybe so what's your thought on the C-section? You can put it in the chat comment. So what do you think? C-section is a Muhurta? Should we do Muhurta for a C-section, or it is something not good to do a Muhurta for a C-section? Maybe you can put it in the chat, or if you want, someone can unmute the mic and speak. So I'm okay. Okay. So no opinions? Maybe. Okay. Okay, let me see. Let me try to explain. So again, whether it is a C-section, it is still the planned birth. Okay, so a horoscope can be made for a particular date and time. If doctor is willing to do that, we can provide that time and they can do this particular operation on that particular time. So if a child born on that particular time, then definitely the horoscope, whatever the Muhurta we are fixing, that horoscope will become definitely auspicious. Okay. But there are certain things which we need to take into consideration. The first thing, for when it comes to childbirth, the mother's life is given the utmost importance, because for women, it is a kind of a second birth. Right. So in that case, according to the mother's nakshatra, we should make sure that it is not a Chandrastama, number one. And number two, when we do a Muhurta horoscope, we should make sure that the fourth house, because when child is born, the fourth house becomes the house of mother, right? And moon becomes the Karaka for mother. So whatever the planned date and time we are going to give for C-section, in that particular horoscope, the fourth house and moon should be definitely well placed. It should never be afflicted. If it is afflicted on a particular day, then we should never recommend that as a C-section date. Then the ascendant and eighth house should be definitely strong, because that ensures the longevity of the child. And also, the kendras in that particular horoscope should be free from affliction, because the more the number of malefics in the kendras, that indicates early death of the child. So definitely we should avoid the malefics in the kendras, which we call it as a baladrisha. So baladrisha means it's a less longevity for the child. So that we should try to avoid as much as possible. But having said that, even if you apply all these rules and give a C-section date and time to a particular person, in my personal experience, only 1 or 2 out of 10 will be able to perform that, because Muhurta is our attempt to align with the time. But birth will manifest only when the karma happens. So it's not that whatever C-section you plan, it won't happen for most of the time because of several reasons. It could be availability of doctor in the hospital, or the Muhurtha time they were not able to fix it because of some emergency, something like that. So we have free will to find a best Muhurtha and suggest it, but only when the karma aligns, the birth will manifest. Otherwise, it won't happen. So, in my personal experience, it is less than 20% is success is what happening in the C-section Muhurtha. Otherwise, it won't happen. Okay, I think that's all we have. So, Muhurtha is a very, very important subject in astrology where we can minimize the natal chart's negative aspects to get the best outcome by using the positive energies of the nature. So the action creates possibility, but the Muhurta decides the moment it succeeds. So that's the whole idea of Muhurta. And there are certain appendix. So I'll show you. These are the 15 tidis starting from Paurnami or Amavasya. So the first day will be Prathamai, Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, like this. It will go up to 15 days. Then again, it will start and go for 15. So there are 15 plus 15 tidis. And these are the 7 varas, which everybody knows: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And each day is ruled by certain planet. And these are the 27 nakshatras, which we already saw. And these are the 27 yogas in Panchanga. So in this, certain yogas are avoided. And these are the 11 karnas. Okay, that's all. I'll stop sharing. So I will pick up the questions.
Thanks. I think that was that was more than just an overview of Muhurta. It was very nice and brilliantly showcased.
Let me check if there are any questions. Okay, somebody says 3, 5, 7 are bad. So I don't know. Asha
Tara.
is mentioning about Tarabalam.
Tara.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 3, 5, 7. Yeah, 7 is totally not approved. It's completely eliminated. 3 is sometimes approved. For example, when it happens in the third column of the nakshatra group, because in nakshatra, if you divide by 9, there are 3 columns, right? Ashwini, Maha, Mula. So there are 3 columns. So in case if the third Tara comes in the third column from the Bhakti nakshatra, that exception rule is applied. But otherwise 3 is also not approved. Then 5th is not approved.
My doubt is, when you said, like today, you said the example of Uttarashada Nakshatra and Maga. So you said it comes to number 3.
Correct.
That is the Vipat. So now, do the Nakshatra Padas also matter?
Nakshatra Padas doesn't matter because the Tara is basically based on the constellations alone. It's not based on the Pada.
Okay.
Okay, we need to see only nakshatras.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And
Sure.
another question is, when you were saying that during the C-section, for the Muhurtas, they should not have malefics in the Kendra.
Correct.
But if there is a malefic with the benefic, then is it acceptable?
Still not, I don't recommend, because unless otherwise there are other compensating factors like Jupiter is aspecting the Lagna or 8th house or something. But otherwise, as much as possible, try to avoid malefics in the Kendras, even including with the benefics. Because when benefics conjoin malefics, right, it again reduces the benefic nature of the benefic planet. So I would generally avoid that option.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sure. And I think Ashwin have given a lot of explanation. Thank you for that. Okay, I think John has
Ramesh,
mentioned. Yeah.
Dr.
Any questions?
Ramesh.
Hello, Muthu. So
Hi.
this is a very, very important topic, and I think you have done more than justice to it, covering, giving a super overview about the whole components of it, and also going through with a live case. How do you compensate the existing flaws in the birth horoscope by fixing the fifth house and other seventh house kind of aspects. So it's very well presented. Anybody who is coming new for the Muhurtha, I think they will be able to learn a lot from this session. I have few suggestions. I mean, probably as I practice, I have I follow little more than the Muhurtha here. The one thing I normally choose is the Pushkara Navamsa Lagna.
Mhm.
So whenever I decide the 12-minute time for anything that is auspicious, whether it's marriage, childbirth time, C-section time, or for any other event, I always choose that the Navamsa Lagna is at least sitting in Pushkara.
Mm. Okay.
Pushkara Padam. So that I always choose. And the other one I always choose is the Panchaka Sutti. So we call the 5 components themselves are in alignment with each other while we are doing individually looking at the components. They also come together with a positive energy. As much as possible, I try to choose a Muhurtham which has the Panchaka Sutti. Suddhi, they call it. Right? So there are some scores for each of that and then they calculate it. So that Muhurthams like especially the common Muhurtas, right? Like the Brahma Muhurtam, people generally choose for many things. I normally avoid giving Brahma Muhurtam for any marriage.
Mm.
Unless you also have Venus or Mercury sitting in the first bhava. So just Surya in the first bhava, I don't recommend that at all. So especially Sun being a malefic sitting in the first house, Sun is good. Generally Brahma Muhurta is good for other things. But for marriage, it will have a bad aspect on 7th house, unless it is combined by strong benefics along with it in the first house. So because when we put Brahma Muhurta, Sun will always be below the Lagna degree, right? So it is at least 12 degrees apart from so I normally don't give that kind of a recommendation. For other things, I may suggest, but especially for marriage, I don't do. And the general rule, based on learned from my teachers is sun should not, especially after sunrise, that 1.5 hour, 2 hour Muhurta should ideally be avoided for anything. Generally people keep sunrise Muhurta, right? So that typically keep sun in the 12th house. And when sun in 12 is not a good placement, generally, it's not a good placement. So probably after 8 o'clock, assuming 6 is the sunrise time, normal time. After 8:30, that 1.5 hour time frame, keeping sun in 11th bhava, or if needed, Brahma Muhurta for other occasions, not for marriage, except for marriage, with considerations. So those are some of the fewer things I do. Contrary to your way of, your thoughts, I try to keep, even if it is malefic, if it attains Digbala, I try to put that in the, I will try to take advantage of that. For example, Saturn in 7th, as long as it is combined with a good planet, either a Venus or a Jupiter in first bhava, I normally prefer that because Saturn also get Digbala there. And similarly, 10th house, we typically call the noon Muhurta, right? So Abhijit Muhurta. So for if somebody is possible, if there's anything government-related matters, even if Sun is 10th house with malefic, I will still try to take advantage of that, Sun or Mars. So just a few thoughts on that. Thank you. It was an
Sure.
excellent session.
Thank you so much. Thank you for adding those points. Okay. Okay, can we take Abhijit Muhurtha? If you don't guess this time, would you like to choose? I generally, because Abhijit Muhurtha is kind of a backup or kind of a last avenue, I would say. So for marriage, I generally don't go because marriage is something very much planned. So Abhijit is something if you are doing on impromptu way, like something on a suddenly, if you are planning something, we can do it in Abhijit Muhurtha.
No, sir. My question was like, for example, you want to do registration of your flat, or you want to buy a flat and you want to register. And then your lawyers who are handling the papers, they say that we have got a date so and so time. So you really can't play around with that. So, if they say ki morning, maybe we'll do the registration or afternoon. I was just thinking then, can one take the Abhijit Muhurtha as an option?
Definitely. Definitely we can take. See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Something it is very much planned and which is very much within our control. We always take the best use of Muhurtha. What I mean is like marriage, housewarming. These are all, it's within our control. But when it goes to document registration or something that is only half is in our control, not even half. Most of the things are within the government control, right? So in that case, we try to use the Abhijit Muhurtha. That's a good choice. Right. I hope that clarifies. Okay, any other questions?
It was a wonderful presentation. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yes.
So it was a wonderful presentation. Seeing you in person is exhilarating.
Thank you.
Undoubtedly. And yes, but even how much ever we try, but Muhurtha, to stick to that is very difficult, especially in case of birth of a child. Whatever I knew from that, I told the doctor to conduct the C-section on a particular date when my daughter-in-law was expecting. And all it happened was that she had to avoid the date, but she tried to stick to the time. I said that and she asked for the time also at that time. So, and I had requested her to do it when I am present and all that, but nothing happened because it was such an emergency that she was to be taken to the doctor. And what happened was that when the time that I gave was 12, and what it landed up to 2. So I said, do it in the daytime in between 12 to 2. So it landed up to 2. So all 4, there are 4 planets in the 10th house of that child. She has Pisces ascendant, and she is Sagittarius. In Sagittarius, there is Moon, there is Venus, there is Jupiter, and there is Ketu. So it has come in Rahu Ketu axis. I don't know what is going to happen. And then our 11th house is Saturn. 9th house is Sun.
I said no, like as I said, like of course it's
Mars,
very difficult to stick to the Muhurtha.
Very difficult.
Especially for
very
C-section.
difficult.
That's why I told like even whenever I do consultations, out of 10, 1 or 2 will be able to do it. Otherwise, more than 80% they will not be able
possible.
to do it. But because that's again I told no, that's karma should allow to happen. Otherwise it won't.
Yeah.
So that's something we need to keep in mind.
And thanks a lot for such a thought-provoking session.
Thank you so
Once
much.
again.
Thank you.
Muthu, thank you. I just wanted to briefly say that you've inspired me. I've never really, electional astrology wasn't something that I know it's important, but it was always took a back seat to everything else, but you've inspired me to pay more attention. So I'm looking forward to exploring this topic even more. Thank you. That story you opened with really got me. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, so if there are no other questions, over to Ashwin.
Thanks. I think it was great. It was
great.
it was a very good run through of Muhurtha Sintamani and B.V. Raman. In my view, which was really fantastic. I think two really important texts are B.V. Raman's Muhurtha, which primarily is based on Muhurtha Sintamani. But yeah, Muhurtha Sintamani is primary. And again, this presentation was a real classical one in terms of adhering to the classics and the traditional methods, which I'm a big fan of. So yeah, overall this was great. If there are no other questions, I think it's time for us to close the day with this workshop too. Thank you very much, everyone,